Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you gotta get spotted. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. Well, welcome to Monday. Today, you know what? This one is good. Let's restart this song. Today, this is Monday. We've got a big week ahead of us, mostly to do with the Tuesday CPI number. But for today is Monday, and so far we look like we have an incredibly tight market that we might want to just stay out of. So let's come and take a look at the charts, see what's going on here. So if we come back here to Friday, we did have another pretty decent increase in the interest rates here. So we are now at 3.75, a 25 basis point increase from the week before in the treasuries. Here we got the equities, and equities, they performed okay. They were up on the day, although not too much. We are getting some extension in the overnight. Oil is at the higher end of its range, but it's kind of not yet breaking out. I'm seeing lots of calls both ways in oil. A lot of people that think that it's going to go to 100 and a lot of people that think it's going to collapse. So that's one I think to keep an eye on. Then we got natural gas taking a little bit of a dip this morning, but you know, still just down after, you know, such a crazy downturn, right? Then we've got gold and silver here, still just kind of ranging after getting destroyed, you know, 2 Fridays ago. Copper experiencing a little bit of a rise, but towards the bottom of their range. So, and then Bitcoin not doing anything too interesting, and the dollar relatively high, touching 103.5. That's a little bit of a concern, but it's not a huge move, so I don't think we should worry about it too much yet. So that's where we're at this morning. When you just look here, I mean, since the open we've had, you know, so for the last 15 minutes or so, I am a little bit late, I'm sorry, but you know, nothing too interesting is going to happen today. Pretty tight range here, and the overnight range was pretty tight as well. So that doesn't mean that we won't get a trade, but I'm going to be really wary. I'm not going to be sitting here like, oh, it's at the highs, we're going to break out, yada yada, etc. I'm going to have like some really strong news, other indications that really suggest that something unusual is going on. Otherwise, it may be best to try and fade any kind of action like that. All right. So that's kind of where we're at. Now I got to think. We have some stuff to talk about, though. Oh, I don't know. You know, one of the things that will happen to me usually when I'm late is because I'm thinking about stuff. That's funny. One of the things I was thinking about is what we can put in our video for the auction market theory video. Actually, you know what? Because my mind is on that. Pep Keiola. Good morning. How are you? I have no clue how to say your last name, but we just call you Pep, okay? Hope for a nice day today. You know what? It's okay. Tomorrow is the day that matters. So we could have a crappy day if we really want. We do have one piece of information today that might be, well, first of all, we've got some Fed speakers. So I guess Bowman already spoke. I'm not seeing too much from that. And then we got New York Fed inflation expectations at 11 o'clock. So that one might be interesting to look at, but that's going to be outside of our time frame, right? Here's that old spammer again. Oh, did it not delete his messages? Gosh dang it. There must be like a, oh, okay, no, it is deleting them. It was just, I just needed to wait. It's good you can call me Brad. Oh, okay. Well, that's because when I read your name, like the first thing that I think about, okay, so here's the thing, okay? Most of my live stream viewers are not from the United States, okay? There's only a handful of us here that are so dedicated to the art of trading treasuries that we're going to come in and wake up at 5:30 in the morning to be able to do it, right? So there's only a few of us, and we know those people pretty well, right? So when I have somebody new come in, they have an interesting name, the first thing I'm thinking is, oh, where are they from? Okay, so a lot of them are from Europe, but I've also been getting a lot of people from like Middle Eastern countries and India and stuff like that. So and even like Japan. So I'm sitting here thinking, well, what language is that? That doesn't, I can't even figure that out. So now you say that your name is Brad. I'm just like, oh, okay, so maybe he's from the Netherlands. Hey, you're not the only one here that's from the Netherlands. Yeah, we got a couple. Akshay is the most prominent that we got, lives in the Netherlands. But they got some goods because the Netherlands is a commodities trading powerhouse, right? So we get a lot of people from the Netherlands here because, you know, futures. Man, I was hoping that my eyes would stop watering because they've been watering a lot this week, but nope, it's still watering hardcore. I switched my contacts, so hopefully that helps, but clearly not. Clearly not the permanent solution. Okay, so yeah, I was thinking about this order flow video that we need to do. Not that we need to do, that we're going to do because you guys want it. I want to have this section that is what is good, what is bad. Okay, so what is bad about auction theory? Volume does not, lots of volume does not necessarily indicate value. In fact, what causes these areas is often random, is mostly random. Number two, what was number two? Oh, an area of significance in the past will not necessarily be significant in the future. After the order book heals, these areas are not as important. Those are the bad things. What is the good? Market does tend to get stuck in an area. Does tend to switch between regimes where it is stuck in an area and when it moves aggressively in one direction. That's what's good about auction theory. What else is good about auction theory? I don't know. watching the volume build at price can give you clues about current liquidity conditions. Those are good things, buddy. Okay, I think we have a good video. Although that one, it's going to be, so I spent a bit of time writing this weekend for the one that is why you suck at day trading. So I think that we should be ready to record that one next Friday. And then that gives us, you know, a solid month to maybe redo some of my back testing on that so that I can also present that stuff in the videos. The testing the volume profile thing is really difficult, because if you just kind of the setups that people would be talking about that are based purely on the profile are kind of like amorphous, you know? So the difficulty for me is crafting a back test that everybody agrees based on their belief about market profile as a suitable test, right? Because what's going to happen is you're going to do it and then you'll be like, well, you didn't factor in this and this and this and this. So I got to be able to do something that like covers the basics clearly enough and provides all of the information about how I did it, so that if people want to make the claim that, well, if you factor this in or you factor this in, you can go and say, well, okay, so then back test it. Right? And if it's not something that's back testable, how do you know that it's the auction market theory that is useful and not the extra thing you're adding that can't be back tested? That's what I'm thinking about this morning. There's this person that comments on like every one of my live streams that are like make $750 per day. And they never actually, they just post quotes. So I've been like, okay, I'll just let them post quotes. But sometimes I wonder if I should be like, nah, that's spam. Stop it. You know, report it and whatnot. But I'd like to think that it kind of helps. I don't know. Tough call on that one. Tough call. Oh my gosh. So now I'm looking at my logs here for like people that have been banned over the weekend. There must be some sort of like farm. So it's got to be like some sort of spam farm over in India or somewhere like that, where, you know, they just have a room full of people and all they do is try and scam people all day. And they must have a list like, okay, here are different places that you can go, and here's like the names that you should try and use to pull this scam off. Because I keep getting people coming in trying the same names, but like trying to masquerade as me over and over again. Like literally it bans people every day. And you would think that they would be like, oh, this doesn't work, and they would just stop. But they don't. And now every once in a while, I'll see somebody will come in and they'll try something and they're able to get around the filter. And then I just kind of update the filter. But that doesn't happen very often. So I don't know what's going on there. It's super weird though to me. Yeah, this thing, so you see there's like some volume going back and forth at 18.5. There was actually a big iceberg there last time, but like, look, the resting liquidity pretty low. It's not really moving. There's not a whole lot of limit order changes. We are stuck. We are stuck in a range bound market. It seems like nobody is really all that interested in doing anything here on the Monday before this big CPI number. So Okay, we got a couple of things we still got to check though. Let's see here. Let's check out Twitter. NATO's Stoltenberg supply by NATO countries of fighter jets to Ukraine would not make NATO a part of the conflict. Okay. I'm kind of starting to wonder if it's not inevitable that this conflict gets bigger. Could be wrong, but oh my gosh. And then there's all this stuff about the UFOs they've been shooting down. Here's my theory. My theory is that the Chinese have been using high altitude drones and small drones for several years to spy on the United States. And because of this whole UFO thing and everything, there is actually, we've improved our radar technology, and with that better radar technology, we are now seeing the Chinese drones. That's what I think is going on. U.S. shoots down fourth object over North America, because the whole thing was like, okay, first we found the balloon, and now they started finding these other UFOs, and they're saying that they are not balloons, and in fact they're saying they don't know how these things are flying, because it's just like a sphere and stuff, right? So now they're starting to say, oh, we're shooting down things that sound to me like they match the UAPs that we were talking about, a year or two ago, right? On the other hand, the things that they're talking about shooting down also sound like they're smaller. So I don't think that they've shot down one of those pill things yet. So one explanation for why it keeps happening is they just got the better radar technology, and the Chinese had been doing this all the time, and now they're fine, now we're catching them. Right. Another explanation could be that because of the tension around the balloons, the Chinese are like sending more of them over here to kind of like, poke the beast sort of a thing. I'm speculating that it's the Chinese. Okay. So those are all possibilities. Another theory could be that it would be Russia. But I don't think that Russia has the resources to be doing something like that. And I think that it would be a really dumb idea for them to be doing something like that given this current circumstance. So I highly doubt that it's Russia, right? And then I guess your other option is it's aliens. So yeah, I'm kind of at it's either the Chinese or it's aliens. Yeah, the one shot down by Canada in the US was quoted as being cylindrical. Yeah. See, what I'm still waiting for is something that looks like a pill. Right. I'm waiting for them to talk about shooting down a UFO that looks like a pill. Let's piss off. Now that would be man, I know that what I'm about to say is horrible, but I just can't get away from it. I think that it would be kind of funny if it was aliens and was like, oh, the humans finally got a better type of radar, and now they started shooting all of the aliens down. But it's actually all just like a huge misunderstanding, and then the aliens would have to come out and be like, okay, we're sorry, we won't just like fly around in your space without telling you guys. And I don't know, but like when you go into that world, you kind of come into a world that kind of contradicts a lot of what all of the UFO diehard adherents would say, right? Because what is his name? The InfoWars guys. The InfoWar guys says that we don't just have contact with aliens, we have contact with like a bunch of different kinds of aliens and stuff, like, you know. And you would think that the United States would have by now set something up with the aliens so that they don't shoot them down, you know? Be funny if it was aliens, but the overall experience was boring and uneventful. Like, everyone expects that. If it were to happen, it'd be like a movie with invasions and contact and gray men and stuff. It'd be funny if it was just us shooting down some... Well, yeah, I see this as there are a group of aliens whose hobby is to fly around underdeveloped planets and try and hide, right? Like, that's that's the picture I'm trying to paint in my mind right now. I'm just, if it's aliens, that's kind of how I pictured this going down, and then we would have to apologize for, you know, shooting down civilian vehicles. You're right. I would always say, why would they not show themselves? Yeah. Well, yeah. Actually, okay, so the conspiracy theorists claim that the reason why the elites hide aliens from us is because the things that we would learn from aliens would be too contradictory to existing paradigms and beliefs in the world, that it would cause problems. Which is to say that the existence of aliens would be a big problem for the majority of organized religions, and I think they're probably right. like honestly, when I think through all of that, I think it's so I'm Mormon. I think that Mormons would be just about the only group of people that would be like, oh yeah, aliens, that's totally should be a thing, or that like within their doctrine kind of suggests that aliens should exist. But the problem with that is that the Mormon doctrines kind of suggest that aliens should also look like humans. So if there are aliens that are intelligent and look significantly different from humans, that would also be kind of a well, I think that the Mormon Church would adjust to it, but that would be in contrary to what most members believe, right? But Mormon Church has revelation, so they can just kind of, you know, we can just get more information and makes it make all sense, right? But like other religions, it is kind of like, I think they would have a problem with that. So maybe those fears are not unfounded, you know? I think religion is one of those things that could experience a new golden age. We have no idea the new beliefs that could be fostered. I think it's too complicated to fully know how it would work out, but who knows? Yeah, so here's a concept that I find interesting, okay? Realize that what I'm about to say is a little bit blasphemous. I am actually like quite a religious person, okay? And, you know, I go along with my belief system. I believe it's a positive thing. And, you know, sometimes you can compartmentalize things. Humans are really good at that. And, you know, you can sit down and say two things are true without necessarily having to reconcile everything about it, because, you know, we don't know everything. and we're not going to know everything in this life, okay? But one of the things that I have found through my reading and research and on personal experience is that humans have a deep desire for meaning in life. People have to feel like that whatever the thing is that they're doing, that it has purpose. I think the reason why a lot of younger generations in our modern society are having difficulty is because they really can't justify that the things they're doing really have meaning. You can come in and you can be like, okay, well, the place that I work for, I like the place that I work for, and I'm serving the other people at my workplace, so that has meaning. But that's not the way that it is for most people. People move between jobs so often now that you don't get that anchor, right? And for most people, the vast majority of workers, the thing that they're doing at their work is not really meaningful. Like it's just like one business out of thousands. How do you build up in your mind that the thing that you're doing is really, really valuable, right? This is why, the people in technology and finance right now don't have as much of a problem with that kind of attitude, because people in finance, you are bringing economic growth and opportunity to people through finance, right? And in technology, you're making significant leaps in productivity that ultimately lead to greater quality of life for all people, right? So you can it's a lot easier for them to sort out what the value is in the thing that they're doing, right? But if you're just selling widgets, and you spend all your day in spreadsheets to do with widgets, right? How do you find the deeper value in doing that? There is none. You're just doing it for the money, right? So the people want that meaning, and people turn that into dogma, into religion, ideas that they can't be questioned. And in this, as far as I can tell, is like an evolutionary advantage, that people's tendency to develop dogma in their mind as ideas that like can't be questioned, let's say, is kind of a survival instinct. Because if you have a society where everybody is aligned, then when you're in a conflict with a different society, you're going to stand a better chance. I mean, this is kind of the issue that the United States kind of faces, right? Is that we're fractured and we have to be competitive on a national stage, and there's problems associated with that, right? So it's like an evolutionary thing. And so we've found that as people have kind of turned away, younger generations are not as interested in Christianity. I think largely, to be honest with you, I think the biggest driving force behind that is that kids want to have sex out of marriage, and most Christian beliefs don't think that that's okay. I think that that's one of the biggest driving factors away from Christianity. Okay, and what we're finding is that they're just finding different religions, right? Except for that their religion ends up becoming like their political party and things like that. Let me tell you guys something. It's not a very good thing for your religion to become the Democrat Party, okay? It's not a very good thing for your religion to become the Republican Party, because here's the pipeline that everybody goes through when it comes into politics. Is at first it's like this new thing and it's really exciting and there's all these new ideas and you get excited about it. Oh, that's funny there. Then you think you know what's going on, so you try and start to exert influence. You start to become more of an activist, etc. And then you either become bitter because the society doesn't go along with any of your ideas, or you become bitter because society does go along with your ideas, but it doesn't solve the problem. It just creates a different set of problems. And so then you kind of come into this place where I think that a lot of millennials are at, where you just kind of disengage. where you just kind of disengage, right? And so politics as a religion ends up being like a really poor religion. And we're honestly, I'm seeing things in the Democrat Party every day that I would consider to be mass hysterias. That you get these people, because it's like their religion, it's resulting in mass hysteria, right? So I would say that making the Democrat Party your religion has very detrimental effects on your mental health and on society at large. And I would say that it'd probably be the same thing if you made the Republican Party your religion. I don't see very many people out there doing that with the Republican Party so much, but I do see a lot of people make libertarianism their religion. And again, I don't see the outcomes being very positive when people are doing that, right? So the question is, okay, if you were going to craft a religion, which is to say that we used science to determine what kind of a religious belief system and set of practices is the scientifically most optimal to give people meaning in their life. You know what I mean? So such a religion might not necessarily have to be based on a god, unless the research showed that a belief in a singular god was more advantageous than the alternatives. You get what I mean? So this is this idea as how would you craft the optimal religion for people's mental health and so on and so forth, right? Which that would be an interesting exercise, I think. Although not one that I think we could actually do in our current society, because what's happened is that other existing dogmas have kind of distorted the science in many cases. So, right, it's I'm telling you what, it's a problem. This is I mean, I'm sure you maybe you know what I'm hinting at, but when you kind of confuse people on what their identity is or what their meaning is in life, I think that a lot of instances that we have kind of intentionally done that in society because we felt that it would be beneficial to certain groups of people. But what you're actually doing is you're making these other groups of people that didn't have very solid pictures of themselves to begin with, and you're putting them at risk for bad outcomes. So you're actually creating a bigger problem. And this all kind of comes back to this idea of like dogma. So how is this relevant to trading? We have to make, after that huge big long rant. Sounds like you guys maybe enjoyed that rant. I don't know. I hope it was thought provoking. But we do this in trading too, right? It seems like it's impossible for anybody to come in and develop a system of trading and not create their own kind of dogma along with it. And the thing that I think has happened is that the trading community became so enamored with their dogma that when new information came out, the retail trading community just completely missed it. To be honest, so like going back to volume market profile, as far as I can tell, the only reason that market profile became a popular thing was because after that guy initially developed it, the CME started selling data about it, right? And once it got to the point where, like, you know, retail people could get access to this data and it wasn't like an exchange feature anymore, like they kind of dropped it, right? So that's why it became a thing in the first place, was because it was pushed by the exchange, frankly, right? And then all the retail traders picked it up and said, oh, this is auction theory. This is this great theory. This perfectly explains the market. And you know what? There is some utility to it, because it does at the very least try to explain some of the things that we see in the market that are pretty clear to me happen to an extent. Although with pure auction theory doesn't necessarily give you any kind of a predictive edge from that. It just says the market tends to do this thing. Whether you could predict it is a different kind of an issue, right? So people became so enamored with that when the market microstructure research came out about the impact of large meta orders and liquidity holes and whatnot, which is a more recent stuff. And I mean, we're talking about stuff that's like the last 10 years, right? The auction market theory people weren't interested. They didn't even know it existed, right? Bookmap is the latest craze. I call it the lava lamp indicator. Yeah. The one that drives me crazy about Bookmap is that it really highlights those really big bids and offers, right? And so everybody will come in and look at a chart of the S&P 500 And every time that it bounces, they'll see that happening. And they'll say, oh, see, look, this thing, it actually predicts it and it bounces off of it. But there's two issues with this, okay? Number one is that the market moves in regimes. So you're going to get one group of people that they started this month and they're going to think that it always goes towards those locations. And you're going to get another group of people that started a different month and they're always going to think it runs away from those locations just because it switches regimes. But then the other issue is that those areas will materialize after a bounce has already occurred, right? Which is to say, like, there will be a little bit of liquidity ahead of a move. There's always a little bit of liquidity ahead of a move. And then if there's like a big acceleration, those orders will get filled in. Usually there's a pullback and then they get out, sort of a thing. Otherwise, they're just pulling every step of the way. If it's more of a slow move, then they're just pulling every step of the way. They only want to get filled on like a limit move, right? So when it turns, that liquidity is still left there, and that kind of creates that shelf that you see on the chart. So the thing that they think they're seeing is not actually visible until after it's already moved. And that's the thing that drives me nuts about what I see people do with Bookmap. I mean, you got the, Jigsaw has a chart too, but it's not as obvious. It doesn't highlight that one little thing as much. And so the people from Jigsaw, they don't pick up on it as much. Right. In other words, like the tool kind of biases people towards a certain strategy that I don't think works. That's not to say that it's a bad tool or anything. I mean, it does what it's supposed to do. And it is showing you information that can be used for an effective strategy. It just seems like what I see most people doing is not effective. That makes sense. Very right. See, I'm usually able to bring it back, aren't I? Yeah. But you know what that actually is? See, this is just my ADHD mind just jumping through, and then I come into a pathway and you go down it. So like when you use a pathway in your brain, it strengthens that pathway every time that you use it, right? So that nerve cell, it got used, and that nerve cell is more likely to produce the dopamine in the future, essentially. So you will get certain pathways that you like, and you'll just use over and over and over again, and because it becomes so strong, right? And so what has happened with me is that because my whole thing is trading, and I'm sitting here every day talking to you guys, and everything that I talk about, I'm supposed to try and bring it back to trading. And so like I have that tendency to just find, even if the connection is like not even really actually there, right? And why does that happen? Because that pathway in my brain has become so strong now. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know, but that's what's going on. Well, you know what? We started at 3.75, and now we're at 3.725. So we've moved down about 25 ticks. And I would say on a reasonable amount of volume, about 15,000 contracts. Now, whether they can continue busting higher, I'm a little bit weary about making a call on that one. But that was significantly more trend than I was anticipating today. Oh man, I just saw a tweet by McLaren, and I was just remembering that when I was on the freeway yesterday, I saw a McLaren. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that there were any of those in Utah. It was a really nice, it was all yellow and stuff. It was really cool looking, man. He was really cool looking. Anyways. Well, this is why, this whole thing with brain pathways, this is why I think that a lot of ADHD and autistic people kind of have the issues that they do with like being obsessed about their special interests, is that their brain will go down that certain pathway over and over again, and everybody else that's listening to them is like, well, why are you doing that? that doesn't make any sense why you would go down that lane, right? Yeah, neuroplasticity. And that's the other thing, is that people with ADHD and autism appear to have more neuroplasticity. Well, I don't know if that's the case with autism, but I've read some studies suggesting that people with ADHD have more neuroplasticity, which is, it's kind of a coping mechanism, is what it is. Right? It's a coping mechanism. Right. This is that thing that I was trying to explain the other day, is that what I find is that there's this group of people that are ADHD or autistic, and I would consider them two separate communities that are related. So is how I think about it. And they're kind of forming their own dogma. And especially among the autistic people, their dogma is there's no deficiency in our conditions, is just a different way of thinking, and the normal way of thinking is dumb. They don't see the deficiencies in the way that their minds work, because they can't even comprehend them, right? They don't have that high functioning frontal cortex that allows neurotypical people to make a very, very quick snap decisions about things, right? And where being able to do that is really useful, right? They don't have that system, and so they're constantly going back to more slow analytical systems, and so they're always noticing the things that neurotypical people do that are dumb. Like neurotypicals people tendency to be enamored with somebody that's rich or whatever it is, the thing that they're looking for, right? And that they can be easily fooled by these things, right? But they don't see all of the small little things where it allows a neurotypical person to navigate through life much more efficiently, right? And so you got all these autistic people online saying all this stuff that's just so dumb, and they're just not self-aware to understand that you could never even explain it to them, the problems with it. I think it could be a big issue in the future, because I'm seeing, like, I think that belief kind of holds you back, because if you don't know where you're deficient, then you're makes it a lot harder for you to be able to compensate for it, right? Brandon neuroatypical. Wait, what about Brandon? What about Brandon? Wait, what the hell is this Daily Mail headline? Is 157 billion Elon Musk looking at making a move on Man United? Oh, Manchester United, as the bidding deadline nears. Tesla and Twitter owner is monitoring the situation. But will he find the $4.5 billion opportunity difficult to resist? Oh, okay. Okay, I don't know if that's actually a thing or what, but that's interesting that's News Squawk is retweeting that. By the way, I didn't think about this yet. So we're moving up, so rates are lowering. That's mostly kind of like retracement somewhat of last week's moves. And what is the spread doing? It kind of looks to me like the spread is flattening this morning. I've been enjoying the Twitter X executives squirming. Oh yeah. I mean, the media has really downplayed it, but there was pretty significant revelations come out of that whole Twitter thing. Yeah. I tell you what, if the same thing had happened to Reddit, okay, if Reddit had been taken over by Elon Musk, and then Elon Musk was raking through every email and or instant message, I think he probably would have to have like Discord histories. But if you could go through like these Discord histories and stuff, I bet you that the machinations that are going on behind the scenes on Reddit would make what happened at Twitter seem like silly, right? Because what happens on Reddit is you get these moderators scheming in private Discord rooms to push the narrative in certain directions. And in with Reddit, I think what you would find is the top executives and people in charge being fully aware of what's going on and just letting people do it. You know, basically, and it would basically be like, it wouldn't just be like, oh, we intentionally throttled conservatives for no good reason and then lied about that we can throttle them and things like that. No, it would be like conversations about, well, Donald Trump was too successful last time, so what are we going to do to make him less successful? I know, let's ban his subreddit. How can we ban his subreddit? I guarantee you that conversation happened. It'll get worse. Getting too political now, but I'm telling you, man. The bias on Reddit is nuts. It's insane over there, especially since the Donald got banned and all those people just disengaged. And now that the leftism, I mean, like the pro Joe Biden sycophants on that website are just like mind blowing. It's like they just absolutely love the guy, and you're like, what the? He can barely form a sentence. And you're fawning over him like, what the, like, seriously, what the F? Some people. See, there's probably was somebody that's like, oh, you know, they like Joe Biden, they didn't like that. I apologize. Don't leave. We don't have to talk about Joe. I'm just kidding. Oh, actually, no, let's look at the stats. No, nobody left. You know, keep talking. No. I'm just kidding. We won't talk about Joe Biden. You know what? I need to so I was like, oh, let's go through Twitter, find stuff, and then I found a bunch of stuff to like go on a big long rant about stuff, and now we gotta finish going through all that stuff, right? I want to check LinkedIn next though, so I would think I'm done with Twitter. Martin Braun, the energy price cap implemented in the Netherlands now acts as a price floor instead. Oy. Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay, so let's read this guy's thing. He's a quant. Although most textbooks on technical analysis use prices because they are talking about equities, forex, or commodities, it is more general to use returns. A return is just the change in price, or PV, over a specified time period, usually one day. It can be absolute, for instance, P of T plus DT minus the P of T. So that would be the change in, yeah, that would be just so that would be the price at today plus tomorrow, so one day. So today plus one day, so that would be tomorrow minus today. That would be the one day change of today. Yes. Relative is that, is that's a percentage amount, and then logs is just the percentage amount, doing a log of it. Okay. And the last two are usually very close. For anything price-based, as noted above, the log return is the most convenient, but for anything formulated as a swap, there is no notion of price, and the PV at inception is always zero, so only the first one makes sense using the total return series for key. So momentum boils down to this simple idea. If recent returns have been positive, then future ones are slightly more likely to be similarly with negative. The way to formalize this is take a weighted average of previous returns using some smooth weighting function. Exponential smooths are more common because they are easy to update, just using the previous value of what you're calculating and today's return. Normalize it so that if the price series is Brownian or the return series is white noise, the signal has unit variance. The risk-adjusted return is a transformation of that signal, where F is often a sigmoid or something like that. What does that mean? What does a sigmoid mean? I don't think I've ever heard that term before. Curved. S-shaped curve. Gotcha. A position of theta where omega is an estimate of the volatility, which really means future volatility, though if you use a time series estimator, it will be backward looking. So he is talking about what is momentum. That last point divided by volatility, is a consequence of stochastic control theory, though that dresses it up a bit more than is necessary. Think about it this way. If the contract size were suddenly to double, you'd want to have your position in it. Well, if it suddenly starts moving around twice as much, you'd need to do the same. It can also be understood from mean variance optimization or utility theory. The attached paper covers all this, so is ideal reading. The link below is a revision with talking about how we formulate momentum signals using returns just algebra, but it's useful to have it written out. Yeah. Oh, so wait. So the reason it's showing this to me... Great stuff, Richard, and thank you for citing our papers. In particular, trend followers lose more often than they gain, but still make money! Exclamation. And here is the paper. I'll just link you the paper. How about that? Instead of the guy on LinkedIn. It's probably better. We give a complete description of the third moment skewness characteristics of both linear and non-linear momentum trading strategies, the latter being understood as transformations of normalized moving average filter. We explain in detail why the skewness is generally positive and has a term structure. This paper is a synthesis of 2 papers published by the author and Risk in 2012 with some updates and comments. Download PDF. Design and analysis of momentum trading. This is like exactly the sort of thing that I've been looking to read more on. And I think that the general principles here seem like things that I am already familiar with, but to have it in this kind of scholarly format will be very useful. Cool. See? I find some really good stuff on LinkedIn, man. You got to get the right people in there, though. And I'm not going to tell you who. You got to find them yourself, because that's the whole thing, is you got to build your network, right? Oh, you know what? I really like this guy, too. I don't think that I have him, so I'll follow him. I'm surprised I can download that paper for free from that. Yeah. So Archive is the place for quant stuff, because here's what happens is they'll go through like the initial review process, and then they'll put their initial paper on Archive, and then they'll see, you know, like who gets interested in the paper, right? And that's the point at which, you know, they switch over and like a big publication like picks it up and wants to publish it and stuff like that. And usually that publication will want like changes made to it, so that there will be like a year later there will be a further advancement on the paper, and you don't get that. So archive.org contains like most of the useful stuff about it, right? And in particular, archive.org has a quantitative finance section, so you can find exactly the stuff that that we're interested in, right? Yeah. And it's ARXIV, but the X is chai, right? So it's pronounced archive, right? And this is where I get all my best stuff from, right? Like all of these things that I'm sharing with you, and I'm like, why does nobody else talk about it? The reason I'm saying that is because all I did was go on archive and read it. And like, no, the other retail traders don't do that. Because again, they're so obsessed with their dogma about price action or auction theory to go and read the latest research. They fall behind. You think about that. Like market profile is like almost as old as me now at this point. Crazy. And yeah, most retail traders don't even know it exists. We'll go there and see what's been the latest stuff this month here in a second after I'm done. There we go. So here's a guy I will let you know about on LinkedIn because he wrote the book I'm currently reading, Machine Learning in Finance by Matthew Dixon and Igor Halprin, Paul Bilokon. I haven't been able to find Paul, but Igor Halprin, he is on LinkedIn and he posts some of the most useful stuff. So, Annual Review in Modern Quantitative Finance, edited by Andrei Aitken, is a hottest new publication for financial professionals and academics alike, and it invites you to submit your paper. Oh, okay. And here is the publication. Here's the call for papers. Does the publication let me see that? Oh no, you'd have to buy this one, unfortunately. How much? And that doesn't take me anywhere. Oh well. Okay, yeah, this guy is active. Okay. Well, after having a pretty decent uptrend, it looks like they came almost all the way back, and here's the S&P 500 starting this now. So, I'm wondering, well, that could be interesting. We've had a lot of like moves, in the S&P. You think that it will go again? Guess we'll see. How to set up your quant lab in Python. This will be useful. I'm going to put that post up specifically. How do I? This is a kid from Deutsche Bank. Wow, he's got 17,000 followers. That's quite a. was looking at a mini doc on the Flash Crash Trader. I'm curious, what are your thoughts on algo trading? Is VWAP useful? Okay, let's tackle these in the order they came in. Okay, so Pat. So algorithmic trading is really effing cool, but it is not what most retail traders think that it is. So most retail traders, because all they know is technical analysis, they think that algorithmic trading is taking technical analysis indicators and just trying to trade on those things really quickly. But at least when we're talking about intraday time frame type algorithms, it typically doesn't work like that. So most of those algorithms are either doing arbitrage or reading order flow. Okay, so that means like there are some imbalances that you can detect in the order book where you can take a tick out or a few ticks out. They're like very highly predictive signals, but as a retail trader, you won't be able to see them. They happen too fast, right? And then the other side of that is, you know, taking two correlated assets and seeing what they should be, what the pricing should be based on each other to do some sort of an arbitrage trade, right? So that's the vast majority of that kind of activity, right? And then you've got like higher level kinds of algorithms, like if I need to rebalance my portfolio, how do I execute that sort of a thing? Or like the sort of strategies that hedge funds are doing. So those ones, I wouldn't necessarily call them algorithm, you know, like those are quantitative strategies that, you know, are then maybe passed on to a robot that actually executes them using all of this other stuff, right? Okay, so that's how that stuff tends to work, right? Now VWAP, the reason that VWAP is useful is that one of the ways that you execute a large order like that is with a volume weighted average price kind of algorithm, where, you know, if you're trying to buy it and we're below the volume weighted average price, then you're free to just buy as much as you want, right? Because you're getting a better than average price, essentially. And there was kind of some problems with that, because like if a piece of news occurred, right, and you're doing that buying, right? Well, why is it going down, right? And what would happen is the retail traders kind of caught onto this and would start you know, actively trading against these large funds and kind of screwing them over. So VWAP ended up being not the most effective way to trade. Like, it was better than nothing, but it wasn't actually very performant. And so then Almgren Chris came around in 2000, I believe it was, and they said, well, if you just execute on a scheduled time slate and you separate the orders enough so that you minimize their impact on the order book, you tend to get better execution than these other things like VWAP and so forth, right? So they're saying, like, literally just like randomize your executions and just don't do enough of them in one time period that it'll actively move the book, right? And so the majority, well, I don't know if I would say the majority, I don't know how common it is, but I'm just saying that there are algorithms out there for executing that are more advanced than VWAP. And so I don't think that there is as much edge in VWAP as its strongest adherents think that there is. And I have back-tested VWAP a ton, and I did not find favorable trades with it. So I think that it does appear to be a price that has some usefulness. I mean, it does tend to react to it and things like that. Like you can see here just right now that we came right back to the probed the VWAP, and now we're just kind of hanging out at it, right? I wouldn't say that it's as important as highs and previous days levels and 50, 100, 200 day moving averages. And all of those are just price levels, and I've never found any evidence to suggest that you can actively predict price using those price levels. Just that price will tend to do funky things at those. So it's almost like I almost avoid them. What is your opinion on scalping the order book, just trading the spreads? Okay, so earlier we were talking about, there can be these small little aberrations in the order book that can give you a really high probability. And those happen really, really fast, right? And arbitrage. Okay, so there's a kind of another area here that you can get into, which is that the arbitrage, but on much more fuzzy kinds of sets of rules, right? So you can come in here into the treasuries, for instance, and you can say, well, the treasury is going to be somewhat affected by what's going on in equities. If equities are going down, then you're going to see a bid flight to safety in the treasuries. The treasuries is also going to be affected by what the other treasuries are doing. They're going to be affected by what the currencies are doing and what the dollar is doing and so forth. And so there might be some sort of a relationship between two assets that, given the current situation, don't actually make sense, right? And so there can be situations where you, with your human brain and your ability to carry out fuzzy logic and so forth, you can be watching a bunch of instruments and identify these kinds of temporary mispricings in value to be able to do something similar to arbitrage. So these are the sorts of things that, like, Gary Norton tries to teach you, right? So there's that. And then there is also that there are many stylized behavior in the order book that I talk about in my stylized behavior of markets that is a part of my order flow and DOM trading for beginners video playlist. Okay, so it's like the second to last video in that series where I talk about what those stylized behaviors are. So while price tends to be like very, very random, there are some of these behaviors that you'll see in flow that are incredibly consistent. So you can try trading off of those. Now, like I said, those sorts of things in terms of like those providing an edge, the ones that like really objectively provide an edge, people trade them, right? And they're very competitive, and so you have to be really, really fast to get them, right? So what we're doing instead is we're saying, well, okay, I can't make money just from scalping the order book, like the spreads, like you're talking about, because I'm not competitive with the robots. That's what I found, is that you'll do okay, but it's like it's kind of hard to get more than break even. So what we're doing is we're taking a bunch of other stuff that we have and combining them together to where we do have an advantage over the robots in certain circumstances, right? For instance, we can use all of the information that we have about the context of the day to make predictions about what the future order flows are going to be able to predict the move before it happens and jump on board that, right? Okay, so scalping the order book, my opinion, really, really hard to make money just doing that, but it can be a part of a larger strategy. When is VWAP usually anchored? End of day? Okay, so typically speaking, when people talk about the VWAP, they're talking about from the beginning of the session, which kind of leads to all sorts of interesting things when you get into the S&P 500 futures, because do you anchor it at the start of the extended session, or do you anchor it at the beginning of the regular session? Which one works better? Well, I don't know. Like, that's the whole thing, is I've gone and I've backtested these sorts of things and I don't see any difference. It's just noise. So when people ask me, that's one of the most common questions that I get asked in private messages, is like, when should I start my VWAP and stuff like that? It's like, I don't think it really matters. I don't know if it really matters. Honestly, I don't. Because I've never been able to find some sort of stat that suggests that you'll do better, that there's more or less predictive signals with one or the other, or that there's any predictive signals at all with using it. But that's kind of like the larger problem, right? Is I'm looking for a predictive signal. I want something that's going to give me a better chance of it moving one direction than another direction, or a place where I have an asymmetrical risk reward advantage. That's similar, right? How do you find that? you know? Uh, People assume that these things, you know, they'll go and they'll say, oh, this seems to work. And so they'll go and they'll start trading that. But without ever actually having gone through it quantitatively and proving, like, does this thing actually provide an advantage? And then if it does provide an advantage, like, why? Right? So it's one thing if you have a bunch of data that suggests that there's a certain pattern. It's a very different thing when you actively know why this particular thing is going to move that instrument, right? So if there's, you know, tomorrow, if CPI is higher than expected, then I'm telling you what's going to happen is all of these instruments are going to sell hardcore, right? If we had another like really big outsized beat in CPI, it'd be very bad for the markets. And we can kind of go through and game out why that happens, right? And even if it didn't quite behave the way that we expected, we might be able to look at the positioning and so on and so forth to help us understand why it didn't actually do that, right? But we have to analyze those flows, right? And I want to look for things that are actively going to push it, that are actively going to get people to trade, and not just some statistical number that people claim that it's a tendency to do this sort of a thing. I have to have a real understanding of why that would occur, right? And that's the thing. The best edges are going to be things that are actively going to push that instrument and are not just some, you know, there's no chance that it's just some wild coincidence, you know? So that's what I think most people are looking at, are things that could just be coincidences. So that's what it is with VWAP. It's just like, well, it's this like quantitative thing. People say that when you touch VWAP, you tend to bounce off of it. Does seem like the first touch of a VWAP, you bounce a little bit off of it, but turn that into a profitable strategy and show me a back test and then explain to me why that happens. Why does that actively cause that thing? I've never seen that. My own back testing suggested that it wasn't really that useful. And there were some times where I thought that I did have something that suggested it worked a certain way, and what I found was that I just didn't have enough data. So that's the other issue. Like, I could backtest these kind of stuff, but I can only do like 2 years worth of data. So like, you know. Yeah, the number of, quote, AI experts that have emerged since the launch of ChatGPT is outstanding. Can I complain about something? That just reminds me of this thing is like, it's so easy for people to come and portray themselves as an expert on something on social media now, that it's like, oh, okay, ChatGPT thing is a thing, and now you have these people that are experts in ChatGPT, when the reality is they didn't know a darned thing about machine learning before ChatGPT became a trend, you know? And I suppose that one could say the same thing as like, what is it that makes you qualified to be the influencer? Well, I never set out to become an influencer on it. That's the thing. Internal temperature too high, allow it to cool. My camera turned off. I have a fan coming tomorrow that should fix that problem. So in the meantime, I'm just gonna move my screen and you'll only be able to hear me, okay? Anyways, I just decided that my thing was finance and that I was going to learn as much as I could about it. And then I created this YouTube channel as a video journal for a contest, and people liked it, and I feel like I got coerced into being an expert. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And the thing that drives me crazy is that I sit here and it's like, look, this is not like imposter syndrome, okay? What I'm talking is not about imposter syndrome. What I'm talking about is like, I know a lot of things, and I know that there are a lot of things that I could research more about, but you know, I haven't had the time to get into yet, sort of a thing, right? And I know that there are these guys at institutions that's basically all they do all day. And so of course they know more than I do about it, right? So it's not imposter syndrome in my opinion so much as it is kind of knowing where you're at and realizing that even if you were those other guys that seem to know practically everything, that the amount that you know compared to the overall market is still minuscule, right? So it really bothers me when I see people that clearly have less knowledge and experience than myself putting themselves out as like these huge experts when it's so clear to me that they don't have a clue. Like the one that drives me crazy is people that are like, they're investing experts and they just tell you to put your money in an index fund. I don't need an expert to tell me that your best return for your retirement is in an index fund, right? Nobody needs an investing advisor if that's what the situation is, right? You need an investing advisor when your needs are more complicated than that. And these people that I see online talking about that stuff, they're not qualified to talk about that sort of stuff. I mean, I don't know am I qualified to talk about that stuff? I mean, I have the Series 65 now, and I need to create my own investment advisor business, and so I suppose that I will be able to, but probably be a long time before I really have the experience, to really be a super expert on that stuff, What do you think is the best path nowadays to get into a bank like you did? Well, so understand that I was not necessarily happy with the path that I took, right? Because basically what happened to me was I went into computers, and at the end of it, what I realized was I probably could have learned programming on my own and gone into finance instead, or gone into quant finance, and tried to get into a school like in Chicago, and then gone straight into trading in the bank, and then I would have been able to do what I really wanted to do, which was to trade for the bank. Right? And I tried coming in through the technology side, and I networked, and I thought I did really good at the firm. And the fact that I don't know what happened, but they did want me to apply for a job. It was kind of funny because I asked the person that was hiring for that job, like, how did I get referred? And they're like, oh, you applied. And I'm like, yeah, but somebody told me, I didn't respond back to them, but somebody told me to, and I don't know why. I don't know what, because I don't know that person. I don't know how my name came up. But apparently somebody is looking out for me over there and remembers me, so that's super cool, right? But I didn't get to trade for them, right? So I think that it seems to me, though, that almost all of their hiring that they do comes from the right out of university, which means that you have to be going to a program where the banks are actively recruiting for those things. That's the path that I think you have to take, which probably means like going to the ones that I know, or at least I've seen a lot of people they've come through in the United States are the University of Chicago and what is it called? The Mellon School of Business in New York. Those are two programs that I'm pretty confident might give you a good in to trading. Yeah. But what I didn't trade for them, right? I just did technology. Now, if you want to just do technology, okay, then here again, you just go into computer science at a school where they recruit. They do it at the University of Utah, by the way. So if you're in Utah, just go into computer science and, yeah, isn't it? Maybe I'm getting the name wrong. Carnegie Mellon University. Yep. Oh, that's not in New York. That's in Pennsylvania. There's another one in New York. I wish Akshay was here. He would probably have a better answer for that, because he kind of did that stuff right. And that's one of the things that I've had a hard time is that there doesn't seem to be very good information online about which ones would be the best. Oh wow, they came right back up there really nicely. How much delta was on that? -53 to -43, so another 10,000 contracts long. It's a little unexpected. There was some real volume behind that too. Well, anyways, the point is I don't really know the schools that would do it, but like that's kind of the hack here in this particular instance is that they recruit, for instance, Goldman Sachs recruits pretty heavily out of BYU and the University of Utah. Now they're not looking for traders at those schools, but they recruit pretty heavily out of those for like back office people and stuff because they have a lot of back office in Salt Lake City, right? And so and they have technology stuff in Salt Lake City, right? So to go and do computer science, right? I go and I do computer science and all of my friends were going to Microsoft and Google and so forth, right? Which I probably could have done. I think that if I had really tried to get into a place like a Google or Microsoft, I might have been able to do it. Because I was certainly as capable as my friends that I saw that went to those places. And but it was either that or go into video game development, which would mean going to if I had followed the career path that I wanted to, that I had planned on going into in school, most likely I would be at Avalanche Software making the Harry Potter game right now. That's that's what I wanted to do, right? But I wanted to go into finance, right? And so that gave me a huge leg up because there wasn't as much competition for it. I was really well qualified anyways too, and I had a really strong interest in background knowledge in finance. So it was almost like, oh well, we have to hire this guy. And that's how I did it, right? And so yeah, I think that another person could take the same path that I did, but it's just that I don't know if the path that I took would really get very many people to what their real goals are, right? So I'll be starting in college next year and was wondering whether I should go into finance right away or do computer science because I read a lot about firms looking to hire mostly mathematicians or something like that for their trading floors. Right. So if it was me and I was doing it again, I think the way that I would have done it was computer science with a like a secondary major in math and statistics, right? And then the thing is that a lot of the more like quant stuff that we're talking about is often taught at a graduate level. So then you would go and get a master's degree or something like that, right? So you can go that way, or you can go into finance and then go into the quant side after that, right? Or I think there are some programs that are really just focused like from beginning to end in quantitative finance, right? So that's one side of it, right? And then the other side of it is the business, which is more the business side, which is just going into finance, right? Now that side of it is my understanding is that side is a lot harder. That a lot of the people that get those jobs, they have family or they have connections and so forth that make it a lot easier for them to get the job and all that sort of stuff. But those jobs are very competitive. And then you're getting into, if you take that track, you're getting into you're either a trader or you're investment banking, right? Man, that is some good volume coming through there at 26. I think that I don't know why it's moving is the issue. I haven't heard any big numbers or anything. It does, most of this has been since the S&P 500 started, right? And it looks like it's all kind of levitating up. Yeah, so I don't think that I had anything to predict this, but with the way that it's going, it does kind of look like we might have been able to have a trade if we could have found the right information and so forth. And I kind of took the position of it's going to be a really tight day and you might not want to get involved. It looks like to me that was wrong. Looks like I was wrong on that call. But it was a decent move up. We could have made $50 shorting it. I don't know if I really would have shorted it though, man. Certainly wouldn't have shorted it at 3.75 and held it this whole time to make $50, man. That would have been great. Have you played No, I haven't played the new Hogwarts game, but I've heard a lot about it. It sounds like it's a really good game. I'm playing Sonic Frontiers right now, and I'm not going to pick up another game until I've done that. And then when I'm done with that, I should defeat the Ender Dragon in Minecraft. I've never done that before. So. But you know what I actually want to get into? I keep coming into this thing where it's like, oh, I want to get this thing. You know what? I could get this thing, but I'd rather put that money into my IRA. I want a racing sim. I see these guys on TikTok and they've got like these rally car racing sims. Holy crap, that looks so cool. That looks like something that you could come in and do every day and practice and get really good at and just be dedicated to for a long time, Because the thing that I miss from when I was a kid, they always say like, you generate more dopamine when you're a teenager, when you're like 17 to 21. And so you kind of always remember the things and activities that you were doing during those times the most fondly, right? When I was that age, there was two things that I did that I enjoyed the most, and one was snowboarding, and one was playing Unreal Tournament. And after my mission, I felt like I didn't have enough money to go and do snowboarding anymore, and so I just didn't do it. I think I should try and pick that back up. So I might start slowly putting money into snowboarding, or maybe I'll learn skiing because it seems like all of my kids and my wife that snowboarding makes them too nervous. And if I want them to come with me, maybe I need to ski or do both. Unreal Tournament basically went kaput. We had a fourth version of the game that was under development that the community was assisting with, and it didn't work out. And Epic Games went and made Fortnite, and that was the end of Unreal Tournament and pretty much killed it for me. And they don't really make the kinds of games that I would play like that anymore. Like, there are all these battle royale games, and I hate it because it's like it's so much the randomness of the drop. And then you have to reload the whole map. And I just want to go in and kill. I want deathmatch or whatever the deal is, right? And so there's nothing like that for me. So I keep going around like, well, okay, what are some things that you can truly get into? Because Unreal Tournament was a thing that I was like, I can play this for the rest of my life. Minecraft you could play for the rest of your life, but it's too laid back. Sometimes I want something, competitive and that I can grind at and get good at, and that the game rewards me for getting good. That's what drives me nuts about shooters. And the current thing is that the games almost kind of punish you for getting good. Gaming has been on a decline. Well, there really hasn't been very much in the way of shooters since the pandemic, has there? It's really quite weird to me. Well, bit of liquidity at 28 giving them a bit of an issue here. I think that they'll eventually be able to power through that, though. If I didn't already have a position on here, I would maybe try and catch an edge here at 28 to 28.5. I'm not sure if it would be appropriate to catch the Before She Goes right here at 27. So that's today being a Monday, that makes that trade a little bit iffy. But if they do clear 28, I think, and you can get filled, I bet you I'm gonna say there's a pretty good chance that you'll be able to get 28.5. So yeah, but what is it with the Yeah, with the steering, oh man, like the ones, so like Linus Tech Tips, they had a video where one of his employees, he had a racing rig and they like they upgraded part of it. But like the thing is that the racing rigs can get insanely expensive. Like he got a shifter, and the shifter was literally $500. It was literally a $500 shifter. Like, what? For real? And these are ones that like have a clutch and everything. Oh, that looks so much fun. I want to do that. I don't know if I want to do it enough to justify spending money on it right now, but maybe 5 years from now, maybe I could get into that. How did I get into that whole thing? I went on a real tangent there, didn't I? Anybody? Nope, not much chat in Discord this morning. But in all seriousness, why aren't there as many shooter games being released right now? It's kind of weird. What do you think about John Grady's stuff? I think that John Grady's beginning PDF is really great. I'd encourage anybody to read it. I think that a lot of people try and take that and just trade his straight setups and have a hard time being successful with that, right? I think that really the value of what John Grady talks about is it kind of shows you the sorts of things that you'll see and the way that they'll play out. Because if you really think about them, there's like two sides of the same trade. One is catching the edge, and the other one is lure. And how do you know which is which? Well, the reality is at least from what I've seen, is that when you're just looking at the order flow, that you can't tell which is which. There's nothing that indicates to you which one is which. I know which one is which based on the context, right? Which means that the edge is not actually the order flow, it's the information I have that predicts the order flow. And the order flow part of it is kind of more of an optimization and a help, right? So approach it from that perspective, and I think you'll get more out of it. You can also do his webinars, which I'm not going to say that they're not worth it, but they're super expensive, right? But it is useful to have a trader and be able to see what they're thinking and doing and stuff. And especially for beginners, it's like really useful. But I don't know. Somebody sent me one of those before, and I watched it, and I was kind of like, oh, I don't know if I would spend $5,000 for this. But that's me. I already knew a lot of, pretty experienced at this point. So maybe if I had done that when I was brand new, I would have been a lot more about it, right? And I guess the other thing that I would say, going back to what we talked about at the beginning of the stream, is that the thing you got to be careful about. Let's turn the camera back on, by the way. Is that you get sucked into dogma. Now, I'm not saying that John Grady is dogmatic. He's not. Okay, but your tendency is going to be, oh, okay, John Grady is the guy I'm going to go with now, and I'm going to follow his dogma, and then you don't go and you find more knowledge, right? That's the biggest fear, or that should be your biggest fear. Honestly, your biggest fear as a trader should always be that you stop finding information that helps you progress, right? That you just say, oh, I've got it all figured out, and you keep doing that, and you try and do it forever. That'll kill you as a trader. You've got to continue to try and be on the leading edge of things. And the game that we're playing at, like, if you really want to become rich from this, wow, they didn't bust the 28, by the way. You really want to make money from doing this, the way that you make the big money from doing this is you run into one of those situations where you learn something about the market that gives you a really huge edge for a certain period of time before everybody else figures it out, right? So And we have had things like that happen, right? There's been big changes in options, and now 0 day to expiration options. You know, that's kind of been where the game has been at lately. And who knows where the next step is. But it might not always be what we're doing in futures, right? U.S. tells any remaining Americans to get out of Russia or face possible conscription. Oh boy. White House blasts false China accusation of U.S. balloons repeatedly breaching air. Oh yeah, of course. That's the, you know, just accuse your opponent of doing what you did. That's what that is. Have you ever tried getting? I'm messing with you, dude. Oh, here's something on my LinkedIn that's maybe relevant to what you were asking earlier. Students who won JP Morgan offers recently did this. You'll need to stand out from the crowd in 2023 interviews more than ever. We spoke our students who cracked their dream offers in JP Morgan. They shared some unique answers and special tips, which we think will be especially helpful for aspirants to keep and grab offers. Oh, but then you have to hit like and share your email and then they'll send it to you. F that. Have you ever tried getting into a prop trading firm? Okay, so when we started this stream, I was trading Combine accounts. So like the whole thing was I did the Combine account a bunch of times, and I kind of realized that the Combine account was the pursuit of the Combine was actually holding me back from having long-term success. Is what I realized. That the target was so aggressive that I was trading in an overly risky way. So you know, I had the first big like kind of renaissance in my trading was when I gave up on the Combines, to be honest with you. Okay. I've had periods in my trading where I would have passed the Combine, but I'll tell you, even now, and I've been doing really well in the past year, but it still wouldn't pass the Combine every month, right? And I think that's what people think is you're going through a strategy and you're backtesting it and you think, okay, well, but it doesn't pass the Combine every month, so I don't want to trade it. It's a ridiculous standard. It's a ridiculous standard, right? So since then, I've just traded my own account, a really small account with micro futures, and I'm super happy with it, right? There have been some times where they wanted to do videos and I did it, and I did the one with the automated strategies that I thought was kind of fun, but the video itself didn't actually do that great. So, or would probably, if I were doing that again, I'd probably take a different approach, right? If I did that again, if a prop firm came to me and gave me a free Combine as in exchange for a sponsored video or something like that, then I'd be open to doing it. But I would take a different approach. I would just try and do some rockstar trading, you know. Come in and make big bucks, take on big risk on, you know, like a big non-farms day and stuff like that, and catch 4 or 5 good trades like that and pass the Combine. I think is the way that I would do it, because I can do like for instance, this trade that I've taken over here in ZN, you know, assuming that your Combine would allow you to keep positions open overnight, that would pass a Combine, right? 2K block trade in. Oh yes, you're right. Well, there was a 6600 one at 112.25. So quite a bit has traded there now. No, I have like a physical one like SMB. Nah, I've never looked into that. at least for Axia, it kind of sounds like you have to like go through their education program and everything first. But like the issue with going that direction is I would have to take like a huge pay cut first, right? So I could try going through the bank route again. Now that I have the Series 65, I think that would be a little bit better of a gateway into doing some more finance and investing related stuff, you know? But we'll see if that opportunity ever comes along. I think that if it ever happens, that it's really going to have to be like the perfect opportunity just plops in our lap and we can't ignore it. Because I don't seem to ever see those opportunities just materialize. Or even if I'm going out and looking for them. This guy, Chris, in Discord, he's what he's doing is he's taking excess risk. He let it come back. He let this position come back against some 30 points. He's like Chewy. And the one time that he ends up being wrong on one of these is going to be a blown account. That always triggers me because there's so many retail traders falling victim to that. On the other hand, I have to say that like the whole like doing tech during the day and then just waking up early and day trading is super great. I'm super happy with it. And as long as we're continuing to progress and everything, I'm perfectly happy to just do this. The only thing that I don't like about the current situation is that I don't feel like I have enough time to work on the YouTube channel and I don't feel like I have enough time to research. Passing that Series 65 test was super brutal for me. It was a lot of time and it was really hard for me to force the time in, you know? Because I tell you what, it's nothing against them, but women will try and drain as much of your time as they can. I mean, you think about it, that's probably the way that you should always go, is anytime you find a use for your partner to do something, you're going to ask him to do it. But it's super with 2 kids and everything. It's like I can't really do anything. Like I can't just lock myself in the office for 4 hours and just study. It doesn't work that way right now when I have the free time. So I wish that I could spend the time right now in studying, but I would rather trade. You know what I mean? But if I let's say I went back to the bank and I couldn't day trade futures or do the YouTube channel anymore, I think I would still wake up at the same time and I would just study in the morning, right? And do who knows what. I mean, I got my current slate of books and then Series 3, Series 7, heck, maybe at some point CFA. I don't know about the CFA one, man. So like what I've been seeing a lot of is like the people that are like fund managers, they often have the CFA. And that's kind of like the way to do it in the industry. But everything I hear about it is kind of like it's not really worth it. Like that the stuff that they teach you in it isn't all that great, stuff like that. So I don't know. See here, it's 8:16. We're in a weird. It's been a weird day today, isn't it? You know, for the treasuries, so I'm quite impressed with this uptrend, I must say. And it had two legs to it, and now it's pulled back significantly again. If there was a third leg to it, that would be like, wow. I would be super impressed. Let's see if it does it. It could like just retrace and go back to the lows for all I know. Also, this rally in the S&P 500 is a little bit. Well, let's come and look at it on the profile. Oh, did I? Which one did I have on here? Oh, we'll go to the charts. So in terms of range and everything, today is still pretty tight. Continuation of the uptrend from Friday, though, maybe. I think that with this one, we're probably, the risk that we run right now is that it just turns back down really hard, right? Yes, we'll be careful about that one. Back over here. I'm gonna stand up here. I kind of got a spot on my back. I'm gonna see if I can loosen that up. Well, nothing's locked up, so I don't know what's with that. It seems like I got a spot on my back now. Hopefully it doesn't get any worse. I'd like to work out today. By the way, one thing that I am seeing here is that the flattening appears to be continuing. Oh, okay. See, now it all makes sense. So this whole thing has been Futures Trader 71 has been saying, oh, I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to be doing the stream here and here because I'm working on a swing trade. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. That would be a weird timing for like a swing trade and all of that sort of stuff. And he just posted a picture of the current trade progress, and he's on vacation. You got me. You got me. I really thought. It's so cool. And I always fall for that kind of shit too, right? That's the ADHD in me, man. It's just like the sarcasm and pranks, and I'm always the last one to get them. I'm always too slow. That would be an example of the sorts of things that people's executive functioning, like a really high level executive functioning network, does really well, that people with ADHD and autism don't do very well at, right? For me, it hits late. For the autistic people, it just doesn't hit at all. The Babylon Bee has their article out this morning. Joe Biden orders Kung Pao chicken during diplomatic call with China. Man. That's not gonna help. So I just refreshed Zero Hedge to look at the new stories. And one of the stories that show up is Goldman Sachs CEO wishes he fired workers earlier. Is the Chinese economy going to be bigger than the US in the future? I don't know, Pep. This is okay. So we're talking about the quintessential question of our time. And for a long time, we were all told that China will outpace the United States and become a larger economy with their consumption and things like that, right? And well, China did make some great progress and really improved their economy. They're starting to get some data that kind of suggests that it wasn't as good as they thought. So in particular, their population is not as big as they thought and is older than they thought. And so the concern that demographers have, is that the correct word, with China is that their population is going to decline before they actually ever reach that largest economy status. So that's a big one. It kind of seems to me like, in terms of what is the largest economy in the world, that India may have a better chance of reaching that than China does. Okay, so that's the first side of it. Another issue, though, that's going on in China is that you have to remember that China kind of had this thing with the whole semiconductor industry being in Taiwan, right? Like, there was kind of like this three-way deal that they were kind of dealing with. And so in part, because of this semiconductor industry in Taiwan, China was able to build their huge semiconductor industry on the mainland, right? Because they can like take the chips and stuff that are designed there in Taiwan, and then in China they can develop them into, you know, like full processors and stuff like that. Because like Taiwan Semiconductor, a lot of what they're doing are like giving you certain kinds of substrates and stuff like that, right? Okay, like they'll do the super high sophisticated stuff that not anybody has the machines to, and then you send it somewhere else, and then Intel finishes it, for instance, right? Like Intel gets their silicon from Taiwan Semiconductor. Okay, well, what has happened more recently is that they got a deal where Taiwan Semiconductor is building in Arizona, right? Because they're concerned that China eventually wants to invade Taiwan, and so they have to build that industry up over here so that in case anything ever happens with Taiwan, it doesn't completely destroy the global semiconductor industry, right? Well, but what that does is you move it over into the United States, and then you put all of the restrictions that they've put on it, right? That kind of kills Chinese semiconductor stuff, right? So one of the things that I'm seeing here is, or hearing about, is that the Chinese technology advantage is going to wane, and that within 5 years their tech industry could just be decimated. So from the information that I've been given, it sounds like that the Chinese economy is not going to be bigger than the US in the future. But that's probably a nuanced thing. There's probably counter arguments against that, and who knows? I'm sure that people in China would argue with me on that one, right? So we'll see. But it's an interesting question, huh? is Taiwan the only country with that knowledge and resources? Okay, so yes. So they have these machines in Taiwan that are like, that cost like $1 trillion to make or something like that. Like this insane investment. Okay. And they are extremely sensitive machines. They're commonly called the, here, let's see if I can find some pictures. Taiwan most complicated machine in existence. Okay. So they have these like extreme ultraviolet lithography machine. Like it's this thing where it's like doing all of this crazy stuff to get a very specific wavelength of light to burn it on the processor and get certain things. Like it's there's these incredibly sophisticated machines that there aren't very many of them out there, right? Only a few companies can afford them, including TSMC, Intel, Samsung, and Intel, right? Anyways, there was this investment into machines like that in Taiwan. So there's like 3 to 5 of these in Taiwan, and they're like the only ones in the world, right? But that's the thing with the Arizona thing, is that the ones that they're building in Arizona are like 3 nanometer ones, which is like, whoa. Okay, so like 3 nanometer silicone, yeah, that's insane. And so that's going to leave the previous generations of hardware in the dust, right? Like it took them forever to go from like 10 to 8 to 6. I think they're at 6 now, right? And it was really hard for those companies to like retrofit them and everything. So to be going down to like 3 now, is there's going to be crazy stuff coming out in computer hardware in the next 5 years. Now is a pretty good time to upgrade, I'd say, but the next generations after that are going to be nuts. You know, like say in 2028 sort of stuff. So yeah, it's like these machines are just so complicated and sophisticated to build that you can't just like set one up in a year, sort of a thing. Way more complicated than that. This is one of those things that, like, you know, if there was like a war, like I can see this happening where China does invade Taiwan, they blow the machines up, and you know, the Chinese and the US hurt themselves so much, and then these machines will be like a thing of legend, that like, because we won't have the technology or the skills to make them again. That could absolutely happen. That's the kind of the level that they're at. Reminds me of this Japanese comic book called Blame, where in the future you have this like super sophisticated technology, but like there's like a gene that you have to be able to utilize the technology, and like everybody lost it. So there's like this insane level of technology, but none of the people can take advantage of it, and it certainly couldn't even hope to like recreate it. Yeah. No, just noticing here that the dollar is taking a bit of a beating this morning. I should zoom that out. Yeah, after being at 103.5, well, that's about a quarter down. Only a quarter, 25 cents. But yeah. This top-notch video would teach you 6 lessons for traders during the Super Bowl. Did you guys watch? I did not watch the Super Bowl. Probably should have because I like the Chiefs. I don't do football anymore. So I decided I don't like football. I didn't really hear anybody talking about it during the week. What's with that? Did you guys watch it? Oh no, nobody's saying anything right away. Maybe that means that you guys didn't watch it either. Nick Timiraos, former Fed economist John Roberts doesn't exercise on what lower 2023 unemployment rate projection could do to FOMC's SEP. To keep inflation on the current projected path, the terminal rate estimate might go up to 5.6%. No, football like American football. The Super Bowl. Oh, that's right. See, none of my viewers today are in America. So, of course, you didn't watch the Super Bowl. Gold price forecast by FX Street knows. XAU USD could dive below 1800 on more technical sell-offs. Do you think that gold will ever have its day? Starting to wonder maybe it won't. Oh, Greg is in Florida, but he didn't watch it. Oh, there you go. I would have thought that I would have at least seen something on like Zero Hedge or something, but no. I don't know. I'm thinking about that story from Nick Timiraos. To keep inflation on the current projected path, the terminal rate estimate might go up to 5.6%. That is... He's saying something quite bearish. The market's not reacting to Nick Timiraos like it used to, but that one might be... I don't know if that's like a trade that you take today, but that's one that we're going to have to remember. It's weird that I did not hear anything about the Super Bowl and not from the US. Who won? I don't know. The Chiefs won. Yeah. Kansas City Chiefs won 38-35 against the Philadelphia Eagles. Boy. AOC criticizes Christian Super Bowl ad, says Jesus would not fund commercials to make fascism look bad. Oh my gosh. That's funny that got AOC to comment on it. The Christian group He Gets Us reportedly spent $20 million on 2 Super Bowl advertisements that showed Jesus as someone with empathy for immigrants and the poor, and who was also tired of the division of politics. Something tells me Jesus would not spend millions of dollars on Super Bowl ads to make fascism look banging. I really hate this use of that term in modern politics, man. Like, they need to come back to that. That was a kind of a mesh of political philosophies that was unique to that time, right? And I just don't think that it's appropriate to come in and say that because a political party or an ideology is conservative and, kind of longs for the past, that puts them on the same level as Hitler. It's just so dumb. They have that guy Patrick. He is really good. Oh, I haven't heard of him. Did they say anything about it? Ads were an effort to spread the message of Jesus to LGBTQ plus people and other communities that have often felt unwelcome by Christianity. she's just trying to generate traffic. Let's not give it to her. Don't go, and when you see, you know, stories about that, don't click on them. Don't click on them. She just wants the attention. Utah governor to Californians, don't come here. Yes. Oh, I gotta read this. This will be good. This will be good. We've known for some time now people have been fleeing California in record numbers for a variety of very legitimate reasons. Whether it's the soaring crime rates, wildfires, open-air drug markets, or massive homeless encampments, the Democrats in charge of the state government in all the major cities have run the place into the ground. What sane person wouldn't be looking for greener pastures at this point? But where should all of the escapees look for a better life? As our colleague Sarah Adels reports at Town Hall, Utah Governor Spencer Cox has one message for them: look elsewhere because Utah doesn't need you. Yes, go to Denver, go to Colorado, or Arizona, because you could go to Arizona. Probably would be happier in Arizona, except for that Arizona can't support the water, doesn't have the water for it. So maybe go to Colorado. In the long run, it's probably better to go to Colorado. In response to Democratic New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy's plea to get people to move to his state, Cox said that it isn't an issue for him. We're having the opposite problem. The last census confirmed that Utah was the fastest growing state in the last 10 years, Cox told reporters. So our biggest problems are more growth related. We would love for people to stay in California instead of coming as refugees to Utah. So we're always trying to figure that out. Yeah. Cox is right to worry about the sudden influx of woke Californians into his state. The population of Utah is only 3.44 million. Though that is up considerably from just a decade ago. Los Angeles County alone has nearly 3 times as many people. It wouldn't take all that many members of California exodus to start tipping the scales politically. Before you know, the new arrivals could start electing the type of people who just, it's already happened in Utah. They changed the caucus system, and you're already getting a different type of politician at the top, and they are not as fiscally responsible as they used to be. Although I think that the Utah legislature was able to set up enough stuff in the Constitution and with the way that their legislature works that will probably always be okay, because they're, at the very least, they're forced to be fiscally responsible. So Cox pointed out other issues that point to a need to limit immigration. They're going to talk about water, aren't they? Yep. Lowering population already has put a significant strain on Utah's available freshwater supplies, and on top of that, affordable housing is becoming an issue as more people arrive. There are always growing pains associated with this sudden influx of people to any area, and Spencer Cox is trying to minimize the impact. Blah, 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 blah. Sadly, Utah may turn out to be a type of test case. Florida has already experienced a huge surge in population, increasing by more than 3 million in just the past decade. Many of the newcomers arrived from the very blue state of New York, and yet somehow Ron DeSantis managed to turn the state to an even deeper shade of red. Could Phil Murphy achieve the same result in Utah? Time will tell. Yeah. Telling people to get, well, I don't know why they mentioned Phil Murphy. I tell you what, the quality of writing at Hot Air isn't quite as good as it used to be. No offense, Jazz. Jazz is still a good guy, but just not what it used to be. Microsoft suspends use of GDI after secret targeting of conservative sites exposed. Yeah, I bet. Oh, yes, that's right. Government set up this index to highlight news outlets that were pushing false information, and the government basically turned it into blacklisting conservative sites that shouldn't be blacklisted, and it's like this big scandal and stuff. It's a lot trading there at 24.5. They have that. Oh, no, sorry. I thought you had put a new comment in there. It's the same comment from before. We got about 10 minutes left, but man, it feels awfully quiet. I mean, I think that was an okay move to the upside, but if they're done already, that is a little... maybe it was better that we didn't play it, right? So what you really don't want is like, you went short and then it moved up against you and then you're not able to make it back. That sucks, right? Yeah, it might just be a really quiet day today, guys. Because the overall news internet looks a little quieter than usual. Let's check out Reddit here and see what they're... Yeah, still old. Oh, there's another day trading thread about who's your favorite YouTuber. How much you want to bet that nobody mentions me? I thought Clay Trader was like kaput now. Humble Trader is okay, I guess, but I find that interesting that that's what the top comment is. Ooh, any YouTubers that have the gut to like... Oh, and then he mentions Matt. Everybody's like, lol. Oh, man. I feel so bad for Matt these days. It's so weird to me that, like, when he got his big break and became popular, and then all of a sudden it was like everybody hated him. Oh, man. Oh, some of these people I've never heard of before. Who's this? Oh, Trader TV lied. They're like one of the top ones on YouTube for sure. Yeah. Oh, they're just talking about that though. Wise Trade, Adam Koo, and TD Ameritrade has a lot of educators that hold the CMT. Oh, so sorry. I forget what that stands for. I was actually looking that up the other day. The CMT designation develops deep knowledge in technical analysis and will do... Yeah, this sounds like a bunch of bullshit. Chartered... Oh, that's Chartered Market Technician. Useless. Yeah, here we go. From EliteTrader.com, looks like half a scam, or maybe more than half. A pseudo-academic expensive study of mostly worthless techniques so you can claim to be a technical analysis expert. Yeah, who gives a shit? After passing the CMT Level 1 exam, I was hoping more companies would start hiring technical analysts, but I saw articles like this one this year. When was this? This was 2005, so the article's not even there anymore. I find it interesting that this person thinks that the CME cert... Should I question him on it? How should we phrase this to not be too offensive to him? What makes you think that the CMT certification has any value? I don't think that a chartered market technician is actually. The level 1 exam is entirely from Murphy's technical analysis book. If you have CMT level 2, you get an exemption about NASD Series 86. Oh, what's that one? Oh, the research analyst exams. Yes. Interesting. I've kind of wondered if that one would be valuable to me at some point, but I don't think in my current situation that it would. Should I post it? I'm kind of thinking maybe not. Oh man, they're having the argument. Real traders are smart enough to know that depending on one revenue stream is incredibly foolish, hence they make videos. I don't know, like maybe some people just like making videos, guys. Actually, I think that the community is valuable. That's what I don't think that any. I mean, I don't hear any influencers saying this, but and maybe that's because of the way that they run their communities compared to the way that we run ours, but. The valuable thing that really makes all of this worth it is the community that we build, right? Because you get a group of people that are already educated on proven things about the markets. And so then when you guys bring stuff to me, it's valuable stuff. And that makes the community incredibly valuable. But y'all keep it to yourself, and then you post on Reddit and are like, oh yeah, Speculator said it's got the best YouTube channel ever and he live streams too, you should totally watch it. No, none of these people. Like the names that pop up are like, who the heck, never heard of any of these? Why do all of these get mentioned? Well, let's come down here. Rookie Cutie. I haven't heard that name in a while. They have a YouTube though, don't they? Yeah, let's search for it. Wow, 1.11 million subscribers. That is impressive. I remember hearing that a long time ago. 3 things I learned owning a lamp. God, you gotta be kidding me, right? This guy is, oh, I hate him already. Watch me trade and profit 5,000. He's doing all of the stupid shit that I hate, right? Yeah, 3 top indicators. Yeah. Worthless bullshit. I'm looking for ones that are kind of more okay, so for instance, target hits. Oh, he has a lot of subscribers too. I was looking for, are all of these channels actually bigger than mine? It may just be the case that they're all bigger than mine and that I just don't look through them all. Yeah, that one is bigger than mine. When you think about it, my channel is really tiny. Oh, it's actually kind of sad to see how many YouTube channels have like surpassed us. I think we've been doing it longer than a lot of these guys. Well, this guy is a lot bigger than me, but his videos aren't really doing much better than mine. That's kind of interesting. No, I think that we're just not big enough to get mentioned in the YouTube threads. That's fine. It's fine. Hmm. Oh yeah, here's one that's much bigger than us. Much bigger. Mm. This name I don't think I've heard of before. Oh no, wait, I've been recommended videos by this guy before. Yeah. For an experiment, try putting a red circle in front of your live day trading title. Yeah, also, oh, I already closed it, but like, let's see here, Control T. It's not gonna cooperate. Who was it? Was it Oliver Valdez? No. Well, now I don't know if I'll be able to find it again. The one that had like 254 people watching. What did their thumbnail look like? Price action. Why not? These guys, I'm actually. Well, I mean his individual videos aren't doing that well. Those thumbnails I think are terrible. But maybe it was target hit. Oh, okay, yeah. It was this one. Okay, so the reason this one is has 214 is probably because they're doing Bitcoin trading, right? So if I came in and I changed my title to just be like live day trading and didn't say anything about what we were trading or anything like that, it would probably in the short term have a beneficial impact on the stream, but ultimately wouldn't, because what it looks at is like, oh, people come in and then they leave, right? And if too many people are leaving compared to coming in, then it doesn't want to recommend them, right? Because they say, oh, I'm not interested in trading the treasuries, right? So what you put in your title and your thumbnail definitely matters a lot. What would be the opposite of a liquidity hole? Well, so the opposite of, I don't know what I could call it, the opposite of a liquidity hole, to be honest with you. I would have to be an area where like nobody really wants to execute. So it kind of like gets taken away from that area back towards a different area of, I don't know. I don't think that there is an opposite. Like we need to find a, you know, you're looking from the perspective of everything should fit together nicely and there should be opposites and equals to everything, and it may not actually be that way. So anyways, that is my sign to go. It's but tomorrow is going to be a big day, so I will see you guys then. In the meantime, stay excellent.